Tongping to Jabel residential area. All what was required of him was that he was needed to relocate alone himself with his family, his wife, and a bodyguard plus a senior officer that would be assigned to him in his second residential area. And let me make it very clear that he was not being effectively placed under house arrest. He was simply being told to relocate from Tongping because of the presence of the security forces, the inconveniences the insecurity forces were causing in the area. You know, Tongping area has a lot of diplomatic missions. A lot of diplomats are residing in Tongping, and where the incident took place, not very far from the residence of the American ambassador, and that area also has a lot of NGO. So the stationing of forces in the area had caused a lot of inconveniences in terms of freedom of movement and in terms of feeling at ease. After the message was delivered on the need for him to relocate, the commanders that were tasked with the responsibility left. Then there was a third force now that came on the scene to enforce the directive by way maybe of providing extra security and escorting him. Now the confusion started building up. The force within the perimeter wall, the force outside, the second force that had been deployed about 2 weeks earlier on, and the third that arrived at around 4 to 5. All of these forces are under different commands. And the element of this exercising proper command, control, and coordination somehow got lost in the middle. And while these elements became a little bit in short supply, there was misunderstanding between the force that was inside for his close protection and the one that was deployed outside of the fence. There was misunderstanding. And as a result, the two forces exchanged fires. That was the start of the armed confrontation that you heard of. And of course, small arms fire was heard, followed by other combat support weaponry systems. That was what transpired. Immediately after the eruption of the clashes, the first step that was taken by the chief of staff was for him to rush to the scene. He was able to convince and order the warring parties to cease all forms of hostilities, which they did. And all of you who had contacted me throughout the night would concur with me that after the sporadic fire stopped, it stopped at around 10. Until now, I'm talking to you, there were no reports of gunfire at his residence. Today in the morning, which is the main subject matter, there was a very urgent security meeting convened by His Excellency, the President, in his capacity as the Commander-in-Chief of SSPDF and the Supreme Commander of all the organized forces. A very successful meeting was held under his leadership. It was attended by the Chief of Defense Forces, the Inspector General of Police, the new Director General of National Security Service. The resolution that was arrived at was a very wonderful resolution that brought me to the studios to come and announce to you. I'm glad that the Chief of Defense Forces made a request for him to take the lead, because of course it is the Army that is supposed to take the lead in any given situation. So he took the lead and started engaging General Akolkor for the second time on the need for him to comply with the CNC's orders for him to relocate to his second residence. And the good news is that a few minutes ago, around 30 to 45 minutes ago, General Akolkor accepted to relocate to his second residence in Jabal residential area with his dear wife, one bodyguard, and a cook. A senior officer will be assigned to him to liaise and oversee his protection. Then to keep at bay any opportunists, spoilers, he is going to be provided with an additional protection by the SSPDF at his new residence. And basically, he is not under house detention, he's just relocating to his residence. This is the biggest news that I have come to report to you, that the gunfire that we heard yesterday was not planned. Nobody had ordered for it. It was a misunderstanding. And as a result, we are able to successfully resolve it without unnecessary more bloodshed. And I'm taking this opportunity to inform the people of South Sudan that the problem has been successfully resolved. Whatever is remaining would be an administrative issue. How did the fighting begin? Those who were directly involved, how did they end up fighting? Was there anybody that gave order? So those.
It's quiet on the streets of Juba Friday following a night of heavy gunfire that erupted in the South Sudanese capital at the home of the country's former spy chief, who has been under house arrest for the past 2 months. Witnesses say soldiers exchanged fire with General Akol Kor's security guards for about an hour on Thursday night. For more on Thursday night's exchange of gunfire, let's go to Jock Madut Jock. He is a professor of anthropology and public diplomacy at Syracuse University in New York State. Mr. Jock, thank you for joining us. And what more can you tell us about last night's confrontation in Juba?
Pleasure to be here, ma'am. Yes, the night was terrifying to the residents, but luckily some calm has returned to Juba today. But what happened in the night was an attempt to apprehend General Akol Kor, who was the former Director General of National Security Services. And this attempt to arrest him in order to extend the house arrest he has been under, and they tried to move him to another location. And this led to a gun confrontation between the small number of his bodyguards who were in his house.